All right, Donald Trump, banned from Colorado ballot in historic ruling by state Supreme Court. The Colorado Supreme Court, in a landmark decision, declared that Trump is disqualified from holding the office of president under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, marking the first ever use of this provision to disqualify a president candidate. The ruling was made in a 4-3 decision by the court's justices, all of whom were appointed by by Democratic governors.
Weird.
The court overturned a district court judge's ruling that Trump incited an insurrection, but questioned whether the provision applied to the presidency. However, the Colorado Supreme Court disagreed, stating that President Trump asks us to hold that Section 3 disqualifies every oath-breaking insurrectionist except the most powerful one, and that is bars oath breakers from virtually every office, both state and federal, except the highest one in the land. Emily, thoughts on this?
Quite simple. You don't have to like Trump to acknowledge how scary this is. I don't like your opinion, so I'm going to do everything in my power to censor you.
Yeah.
Do you see the slippery? It's the slipperiest slope possible. It's like now, because you don't like what this guy has to say, this guy meaning our former president, potentially could be our future president. So we're just going to start, manipulating laws and amendments and try to find a way to keep him out of power, even though if he's so bad for the country, don't worry, because people won't vote for him. So it's like, whether he wins or loses, let it be fair. Don't let him lose because you guys cheated within our own country. It's scary. It's Trump today. It's going to be someone else tomorrow. And then there's no line between who we're censoring and who we're preventing from potentially being our president. It's horrific.
And I think too, it's like, and I know a lot of people are upset. Yesterday when I saw this, I was tripping out. I texted everybody, and they should be. But you know what? You know what you have to do? You have to tip your hats to the Democrats. I mean, these guys and girls play to win. And let me just break it down really fast. They tried cheating in 2016 with Russian collusion, right? Hillary, DNC, FBI. And for 4 years, we had to hear their bullshit. It didn't stick. So they cheated again in 2020. They used COVID to make people vote from home. Then they had the FBI at Twitter, 81 of them, suppressing stories, Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, his business dealings with China and Ukraine. Then, this is brilliant, January 6th happens. They know it's going to happen. The chief of police, Stephen Sun, said, we had death threats. We knew it was going to be bad. They ignored all of it, including Pelosi and Schumer. They let shit hit the fan. They had Capitol Police shooting rubber bullets. They made this violence happen, and then they went after everybody, and they're using it against Trump. Pat, say what you want about these guys. They don't play. They go for it. You got to tip your hat off to them.
Imagine they put this much effort into actually fixing the country.
Exactly. They don't have time for that. They just want the power.
This thing is hanging by a thread. Let me tell you something about the Colorado State Supreme Court. Colorado State Supreme Court is one of the liberal and politicized state Supreme Courts in the nation. And yet they were only able to squeak out a 4-3 decision. This is not 6-2. Excuse me, that's 9. So this is on 6-1. This is not 6-1. This is not 5-2. This is 4-3. They were barely able to get themselves to the edge to do this. Number one. Number two, that doesn't cover them, but they have alignment with the Ninth Circus. The Ninth Circuit is known as the Ninth Circus. It is the most overturned appellate court in the United States. It's based in California, but it covers the entire West Coast, and not Colorado. But there's alignment between them. The key player in all this is the United States Solicitor General, who is going to hear this in short order and determine whether the Supremes take it up. And I don't believe that this was anything other than the Democratic Party working with Colorado Supreme and trying to get this over the edge to get it, quote, out there. I believe that's what's happening here. And I believe if this goes to U.S. Supreme, it dies by a wider margin.
Yeah. By the way, fully agree with you, Tom. At the end of the day, this is going to go to the Supreme Court, where there's a 6-3 Republican majority over there. I mean, look, whether you're a fan of Trump or not a fan of Trump, at the end of the day, this should be sort of shocking to see that you can eliminate someone from a ballot. By the way, this affects the primary, which I think in Colorado is in March, I want to say.
March.
So at that point, March 5th, I want to say. So at that point, they're already going to have Iowa. They're going to have New Hampshire. They're going to have, I think, a ton of states vote March 5th. But look, I'm not happy to see this. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of Trump, but I do believe that he should be at least qualified to run for election. And not a fan of what's going on here. And all my Democratic friends out there, whether you hate Trump, want to see Trump, he hasn't been found guilty of anything yet in the federal court.
This is called cheating.
So,
man.
yeah,
this is called actively cheating.
Now, like, Democrats are like, how? I don't understand what's going on. This is why when Republicans say this is election interference, it's like, kind of sees that way.
Yeah, I love this.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I know I have a friend. I don't know if you know this or not. I have a friend named Patrick Bet-David. He wrote a book called Choose Your Enemies Wisely. I just almost finished reading
Oh.
it. Yeah, pretty good book. I want to ask you a question. Do you think that Trump chose his enemies wisely in the sense of, Patrick, the DOJ, FBI, when he came out and said, I'm going to drain the swamp and whatever, do you think that was a wise choice, meaning he just had to do it to wake everybody up, or because it's backfiring right now? What do you think?
I think this is fantastic because there's certain enemies you don't make it this obvious that you're willing to get this dirty to do it. And Democrats are saying we're willing to do anything and everything to prevent this guy from running. It shows insecurity. It shows fears. It shows lack of confidence. It shows gamesmanship. It shows so many different things. You don't have to be a fan of this guy to, you can hate Trump and say, dude, this is a little bit weird. By the way, to know this isn't the first time, this has happened. In 1860, when Lincoln was running, he was running against a Democrat. And guess what happened in 1860? 10 states Lincoln wasn't on the ballot on. 10 states who were pro-slavery states. They were afraid of what Lincoln was going to do. The Democrats in 1860 were like, oh, shit, if this guy wins, do you go ahead and open this and read this up. Open it up. If you can just zoom in a little bit, Rob. 1860 U.S. election, on Tuesday or something, in a four-way contest, Republican ticket, Abraham Lincoln and Hannibal Hamlin, absent from the ballot in 10 slave states. 10 slave states. So I can't win a state, slave state, blue state, slave state.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
slave state.
Won a national popular. And then next thing you know, they end up destroying the entire thing, becoming president. Look what the score ends up being. 303 to what? 152.
Wow.
Can you go a little bit to the right, Rob? 303 members of the electoral, 152, 82% they end up winning. They are so scared of something like this happening. They are fearing the results of what could potentially end up taking place here.
So you think he chose him? So you think he chose wisely?
I don't know what they're doing. From the standpoint of when you're trying to beat somebody, when you're willing to cheat to beat them, you're showing the public your cards too much. But it's like they're not embarrassed of.
They're not hiding it from anybody.
Yeah, but this is, in no playbook is this a good strategy.
Exactly. I want to see this at the Supreme Court because this decision will corner Kagan and Sotomayor because they are very big on voting rights and liberal broad access to vote. They are huge on it. And it will force those two women to, if you want to, they may say, well, I'll vote no because it's going to pass 6-3 anyway because of, Comey Bryant and everybody else that's there and the Supreme Court, John Roberts is going to carry it. I want to see how they vote on it because Kagan in particular is very concerned, she always has been, about retaliatory justice, retaliatory justice. She's very concerned about that. She was really revved up about that on the Roe v. Wade decision that came out. I want to see it get to the Supremes because I bet that America will be surprised at what they see the vote.
I think all they're doing is they're just strengthening Trump. The other side.
I agree.
But is it tactic? But do you think it's a tactic?
Next 5 moves, Pat. There's a bigger game that gets played.
But do you think that's their tactic though? Because they have something bigger up their sleeve. I don't trust.
Nah.
They're relentless, bro. They don't stop at anything.
You know what would be super interesting?
What?
Because even if he's not on the ballot, which I believe he will, because I believe the Supreme Court will overturn this, but let's just play this game.
Go ahead.
How crazy would it be if he's left off the ballot, and there'd have to be some grassroots campaign, but he wins by write-in votes.
Oh, of course.
I mean, you go to vote in the primary. All right, I got Christie, I got Haley, I got my guy Vivek, my guy got DeSantis. I'm just gonna write in Trump. Imagine if.
Oh wow.
That they just wrote in Trump
Hey,
and
Harambe
he
did
still
it. He could do it.
won.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So don't rule that out. Like, it's not like he doesn't have name recognition in Colorado.
Yeah, we're entering into the absurd. A long time ago, there was a movie where, was it Richard Pryor? He ran as the candidate and he named himself none of the above.
That's so funny, Tom.
Rob,
great.
can you pull up that clip? Vivek said this yesterday. By the way, this thing went viral, and that's a bad picture of him.
Drink some
This
energy
thing went
drink.
viral. Yeah, it will.
Where is
I
he?
know you're
This
getting
thing went
That's a tour
viral
bus. That's a tour bus.
yesterday, but watch what
tour
Vivek
bus,
had to
yeah.
say. Go ahead.
They have just tried to bar President Trump from the Colorado ballot using an unconstitutional maneuver that is a bastardization of the 14th Amendment to our U.S. Constitution. This was a provision, Section 3, that was designed to bar Confederate members, people who switched to the Confederacy, from actually being able to serve. That's very different than what's at issue here, to say the least. This is a hollowed out husk of what the country was built on. The basic principle that we, the people, select our leadership, not the unelected elite class in the back of palace halls. That's old world Europe, not the United States. That's why I'm making a pledge today that I will withdraw, I pledge to withdraw from the Colorado GOP primary ballot unless and until Trump's name is restored. And I demand that Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie and Nikki Haley do the same thing, or else these Republicans
better
are simply
strategist than the other guys.
complicit in this unconstitutional attack on the way we conduct our constitutional republic. I refuse to be complicit in that. I think what they're doing is wrong, and I think it's up to Republicans to step up and stand up with a spine for our country's future. That's really what's at stake, whether we, the people, actually have a say in deciding who leads this country. Yes, it would be easier for other Republicans like me who are running in this race to say, hey, if Trump is sidelined, there's our opportunity. No doubt other candidates are probably privately celebrating with their corporate sponsors. That's not the right thing to do. I think the most useful thing that every GOP candidate can do right now is to join me in
Straight
that
up calling
pledge.
out everybody,
I'll say that I will
everybody.
withdraw from that Colorado
From a $2 million
GOP primary
RV.
ballot until Trump's name is restored.
No, seriously, that's a $2
This
million
belongs
RV.
to the people, not to the unelected
What's the
Democratic
company behind
cabal
it?
of judges
What's the company
in
PR?
Colorado or any
Behind it?
other
He's a billionaire,
state.
No, I'm saying
And
the
I
company
demand
behind
that
PR,
Ron
I
DeSantis
can't-
and Nikki Haley
Take a
and
note.
Chris Christie
Yeah.
do the same thing, or else they're complicit in what this security state is trying to do to shut down
He's
Trump.
so right, though.
I stand
He
by
is.
that, and I expect
He's
him
a
to
He's
do
like,
that.
if I win, I'm whatever. He's like, if I win, I'm gonna do it fair and square, not because the Democrats are cheating by trying to sideline Trump. And I honestly think it's commendable.
He's such a
You know, if I was on the other side, I'd be very, very concerned listening to the next Attorney General of the United States talking like that.
You thinking he could be?
I would, if I was Trump and I was elected, and I don't think he really would want a vice president role, I would make him AG, and I would just say, don't even come to my desk. I just want to see on the news every night. I just want to see perp walks. I want to see perp walks top to bottom. I want you to be my AG. I want you to be the AG from hell.
They would fear the hell out of this guy.
my
Yeah,
God.
no doubt. I don't think that Vivek is gonna want the VP job, but I do think he'd make a hell of
I
an
want the
attorney
VP
general.
job.
I think he'd make it a hell of a chief of staff.
He's
I
a
think
constitutional
national
scholar.
security advisor. You can put him at the secretary of the treasury. You can put him secretary of state. Any job he wants. Like, I don't think he's doing this to cozy up to Trump. I actually firmly believes that we've spent enough time
Yeah.
with Vivek
Yeah.
to know what he stands for.
He's an alpha.
What are the chances
Be a
that Chris
nasty
Christie,
Secretary of State.
yeah, Tom, come on, people are talking, buddy. What are the chances that ding ding? What are the chances that Chris Christie withdraws from the ballot? Hell no. What are the chances that Ron DeSantis does it? What are the
Maybe
chances
he's
that?
hungry.
No.
But
there you go.
The
Tom.
reality is he's one step ahead of all these guys, and you're looking at what I think is the future of the Republican Party after whatever happens with Trump in 2028.
Just to bring it back to the other side, I want to broaden this for a minute. People need to start condemning when wrong is wrong, and this goes just beyond election fraud. Like, today it's the Republicans being wronged, tomorrow it's the Democrats. And I always say this about, like, the Holocaust, like the fact that people are like, oh, whatever about it. Like, no, it was the Jews then. So even if you hate Jews, you should care because it could have been Muslims or Christians. I mean, look at the Uyghurs being killed and a genocide in China that nobody's talking about. Like, one day it's this person, the next day it's that. Wrong is wrong, common denominator. So any normal, rational person, which we lack today, should fear that, but they don't, and that's a problem.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.